Aging is a quiet journey, measured not just in candles on a cake, but in how we feel when we rise each morning, how our hands tremble, how our breath shortens on stairs once familiar. For some, aging feels like wisdom blooming. For others, it becomes a slow unraveling of vitality. There are moments when the body whispers, and other times when it cries out, telling us something isn't right. Often, we ignore the signs, brushing off fatigue, forgetting why we entered a room, chalking it up to just getting old. But not all signs of aging are natural. Some are red flags, gentle yet urgent nudges that our body, our temple, is asking for care, for attention, for change. The truth is, growing older does not mean surrendering to decline. It means learning how to age rightly. There are ways we stray from that path, through poor sleep, weakened muscles, fading appetite, or a quiet loss of interest in life. Each of these signs is a messenger, not a sentence. Listening can mean the difference between living long and living well. Do not regret growing older. It is a privilege denied to many. In this reflection, we explore 8 signs the body gives us when aging begins to drift in the wrong direction. Not to alarm, but to awaken. Because the sooner we notice, the sooner we can gently steer ourselves back toward health, purpose, and dignity. Now let's begin exploring each sign in detail. Persistent fatigue beyond normal tiredness. The body always whispers before it screams. Cheryl Richardson, there's a kind of tiredness that comes after a long walk or a day full of conversation, and that's natural, even comforting. But then there's the deeper kind, the weariness that seeps into your mornings that no cup of tea or nap can quite lift. It's when the body feels heavy even in stillness, when you wake up more exhausted than when you went to bed. That's not just age catching up, it's age asking a question. This persistent fatigue is often one of the first gentle knocks our body makes when something deeper is stirring beneath the surface. It can stem from many places: anemia, underactive, thyroid, poor heart function, chronic inflammation, or even emotional strain like hidden grief or low-level depression. For older adults especially, fatigue may signal that the systems meant to replenish energy, digestion, circulation, sleep, aren't doing their job as well as they used to. But more than a physical signal, this kind of tiredness often reflects the soul's quiet weather, the slowing down of one's spirit. Sometimes we carry sadness we've never named, losses we've never mourned, or fears we've quietly tucked away. Over time, these become heavy, and the body bears their weight. If you find yourself dragging through the day with no clear reason, say pay attention, not with alarm but with gentleness. Ask yourself, is my body nourished? Am I breathing fully? When was the last time I felt rested in my heart, not just in my body? Fatigue in aging isn't a punishment, it's a pause, a nudge to re-examine what you're carrying and how you're caring. Often it invites a shift, in rhythm, in food, in how much we demand of ourselves. Sometimes it asks us to sleep more, sometimes to move more, sometimes simply to let go. And if the fatigue lingers, don't ignore it. It's not weakness to ask for help or seek answers, it's strength. Because the earlier we listen, the longer we can walk this path with grace, steadiness, and light in our step. Sudden weight loss or muscle wasting. Take care of your body. It's the only place you have to live. Jim Rohn in youth. Weight is often a battle of too much. But in older age, the quiet concern becomes when the weight slips away too fast. Without diet, without effort, without intention. When clothes begin to hang loosely, when arms and thighs soften, when once firm hands feel bonier and thinner, it's not always just the passing of time. Sometimes it's a message in reverse. Your body is letting go of more than it should. Sudden or unexplained weight loss in later years can be a sign that something deeper is misaligned. It could be the body losing muscle instead of fat, a process known as sarcopenia, a natural part of aging, but one that can accelerate when we don't. Nourish ourselves properly, move enough, or manage chronic conditions like diabetes or digestive issues. Sometimes it's the result of reduced appetite, trouble chewing, or even low mood that saps the will to cook, to eat, to enjoy. Other times, it's a quiet sign of illness, a metabolic shift, a nutrient deficiency, even the early whispers of diseases that often go unnoticed until later. When the body begins to break down muscle instead of building it, it's a call to attention. But there's something deeper too. Weight loss in older age isn't just about numbers on a scale. It's about strength, it's about stability. It's about whether you can stand up from a chair without using your hands, whether you can carry groceries, whether you feel grounded in your own frame. Muscle isn't just for athletes, it's for independence, for confidence, for resilience. And when it begins to waste away, it chips at something tender. Our ability to move through the world with ease, with dignity. If you notice the change, don't ignore it. If others comment on your thinness, don't brush it off. This is a sign worth sitting with. Start by listening to your body. Are you skipping meals? Do you feel less hungry than before? Have you lost interest in food or stopped cooking for yourself? Has movement become more tiring than before? Even gentle steps, adding more protein, light strength training, simple balance exercises, warm meals shared in company, can help reclaim not just your body, but your presence in the world. Because aging isn't about disappearing. It's about learning how to stay fully, completely, and steadily in your own skin. Frequent forgetfulness or cognitive fog. Memory is the diary that we all carry about with us. Oscar Wilde. There's a moment many know too well. You walk into a room and forget why. You reach for a word that sits just out of reach. You pause mid-conversation, unsure of what you are about to say. These moments come quietly, like clouds drifting across a once clear sky. At first, they seem harmless, even humorous. Just a senior moment, we say, smiling. But when forgetfulness becomes frequent, when names, appointments, directions, and familiar routines begin to slip through the fingers of your mind, it's time to listen more closely. Not with fear, but with respect. Because memory is more than recall. It is identity. It is how we hold ourselves, our past, our relationships. And when memory begins to fray, the self begins to feel more distant too. This is what many call cognitive fog, a dulling of the mind, a slow haze that makes thinking less sharp, decisions more difficult, and attention harder to sustain. While occasional forgetfulness is part of aging, a noticeable and progressive pattern may signal something deeper: mild cognitive impairment, depression, nutrient deficiencies like B12, poor sleep, medication side effects, or the early stages of dementia. But let's be clear, not all fog is forever. Some forms of cognitive decline can be slowed, even improved, when caught early and addressed with care. Diet rich in omega-3s, movement that encourages blood flow to the brain, social engagement, regular mental challenges, even adequate hydration, and better sleep. These can all lift the fog. There's also an emotional piece. The brain does not age alone. It carries the weather of the heart. Grief, loneliness, fear, these can weigh heavily on memory and focus. When we stop feeling connected, we start to forget, not just facts, but parts of ourselves. So if your mind feels slower than it once was, give it your compassion, not criticism. Notice the patterns. Is this forgetfulness new, or has it been slowly building? Are there times when your clarity returns, after rest, after joy, after calm? Has anyone close to you noticed changes that you may not have seen? Let those questions be a doorway, not a wall. Seek support early, a screening, a conversation with your doctor, a talk with someone you trust. Because your mind, like any garden, still needs tending, and even in older seasons, it can bloom. You are not your forgetfulness. You are still whole, still here, still worthy of care. 4. Decreased interest in social connection or hobbies. The opposite of depression is not happiness, but connection. Johann Hari. There's a quiet shift that sometimes happens with age, not loud, not sudden, but slow, like autumn leaves, falling one by one. The phone rings and you let it go to voicemail. The garden sits untouched. A book lies unfinished. Visits are postponed. Invitations politely declined. What once brought joy now feels like effort, even burden. And slowly, without warning, the world becomes smaller. It's easy to mistake this withdrawal for mere tiredness or the natural solitude of growing older. But when the heart no longer seeks company, when laughter feels distant, When hobbies lose their color, the body may be signaling more than just a need for rest. It may be quietly saying, "I'm fading. I need help." This soft retreat from life's texture is one of the most overlooked signs that aging is taking an unhealthy turn. It can be a symptom of low-grade depression, a response to unprocessed grief, a side effect of chronic illness, or a result of feeling unneeded or invisible. And yet many older adults don't speak of it, not because they don't feel it, but because they've come to believe it's just part of getting old. But it isn't. The desire to connect, to belong, to create and participate, these are lifelong needs. And when they begin to disappear, it isn't simply age taking its toll. It's the spirit asking for reconnection. Loneliness is not just emotional, it's biological. Studies now show it can raise the risk of heart disease, stroke, and cognitive decline. Isolation can be as harmful as smoking. And yet the remedy is not as complex as it may seem. A shared cup of tea, a phone call, a hobby group, a walk with someone who listens. Even small acts of reaching outward can light the way back in. If you find yourself uninterested in what once made your soul spark, pause and reflect. When was the last time I truly enjoyed something? Who do I feel safe talking to? What small step could I take towards something I once loved? Even if it's just sitting by a window with music you used to cherish. That's a beginning. Because disinterest is not the end of your story. It's a page you can still turn. And on the next page there can be laughter, there can be warmth, there can be company. The soul doesn't grow old. It simply waits for the heart to come home. 5. Loss of balance or increased falls. Balance is not something you find, it's something you create. Jana Kingsford, it often starts with something small, a stumble on the stairs, a slight sway when getting out of bed, a misplaced step on an uneven sidewalk. At first you may laugh it off, "I'm just clumsy today." But when balance begins to fade more often than before, and when your feet feel less certain beneath you, your body may be sending you one of its most important warnings. Falling is not just about losing footing, it's about losing trust in your body's rhythm. As we age, changes in the inner ear, vision, muscle strength, joint flexibility, and even the nervous system can all quietly chip away at stability. Sometimes the culprit is as simple as poorly fitting shoes or an unnoticed medication side effect. Other times it's a deeper signal of weakening leg muscles, slowing reflexes, or underlying neurological concerns. But more than physical danger, a loss of balance often carries an emotional cost. The fear of falling can become its own invisible cage. You move less. You avoid certain places. You stop going out alone. Over time, your world becomes smaller, not because of your body, but because of the fear of what it might do. A fall can break a bone, but fear of falling can break a life. The good news is, balance, like confidence, can be rebuilt. Through simple daily exercises, physical therapy, Tai Chi, or even mindful walking, the body can be taught to stand tall again. But the first step is acknowledging the signs. Ask yourself, have I stumbled more than usual lately? Do I avoid certain movements or stairs? Is there a sense of unsteadiness when I walk, turn, or rise from a chair? Do I feel less sure of my steps, even in familiar places? These aren't just questions. They're invitations to intervene before something serious happens. Because falling is not an inevitable part of aging, it's a preventable one. And even if your steps have grown slower, they can still be strong. Do not let embarrassment keep you from speaking up. The people who care for you would rather hear your concern than your silence. And your body, despite what time has done, is still capable of surprising you, still worthy of steadiness, still longing to carry you safely through the days ahead. You don't have to walk quickly, you just have to walk with confidence. C. Changes in appetite and digestive discomfort. The food you eat can be either the safest and most powerful form of medicine or the slowest form of poison. Anne Wigmore. There comes a time when meals begin to change, not just in content but in meaning. The plate feels fuller, the hunger feels lighter. Foods you once savored now feel heavy, foreign, or dull. You eat less or too much. You feel bloated or sluggish or strangely indifferent to food altogether. And yet behind this subtle shift in appetite lies more than just getting older. It's the body's soft-spoken way of saying something is no longer working in harmony. In older age, digestion becomes more delicate. The stomach may produce less acid. The intestines absorb nutrients less efficiently. Certain medications can dull hunger or alter taste. Dental issues can make chewing a quiet pain. And let's not forget, the emotional gut is real. Loneliness, grief, depression, and anxiety often settle in the belly long before the heart catches on. This loss of appetite or ongoing digestive discomfort isn't trivial. It can lead to dangerous weight loss, nutrient deficiencies, weakened immunity, and muscle wasting. But more than that, it quietly erodes one of life's deepest pleasures, the comfort of eating, the joy of sharing, the grounding ritual of a warm, familiar meal. And sometimes it's not about the food at all. It's about the silence at the table. Meals once full of chatter and company are now taken alone. And in that aloneness, food loses its flavor. It becomes fuel rather than nourishment, task rather than experience. So if you've noticed that you're eating less, or eating more but feeling worse, ask yourself gently, is my body truly hungry or simply disconnected? Am I avoiding food because of discomfort or emotion? Have I had a proper meal today or just enough to get by? Small things can help. Sitting in the sunlight while you eat, adding herbs and spices that reawaken the senses, eating with others even virtually, cooking something from memory, a recipe your hands still remember, even if your heart feels far away. And if symptoms linger, don't push them aside. Chronic indigestion, frequent constipation, acid reflux, or lack of appetite are signs worth honoring with care, not silence. Because your body, even now, longs to be fed, not just with calories, but with kindness, with rhythm, with joy. To eat is not just to nourish, it is to remember, to feel alive, to feel home. Served as trouble sleeping or restless nights. Sleep is the golden chain that ties health and our bodies together. Thomas Dekker. There's a particular kind of silence that only comes in the hours past midnight, when the world has hushed, but your mind has not. You lie in the dark, shifting from side to side. Your body feels tired, but sleep dances just out of reach. Or perhaps you fall asleep easily, only to wake again at 2 a.m., eyes open, thoughts stirring like leaves in the wind. Sleep, once effortless, now feels like a puzzle you can't quite solve. As we age, our relationship with sleep often becomes fragile. The body's circadian rhythm, the internal clock that once kept time so precisely, begins to blur. Hormonal shifts, chronic pain, bathroom trips, medications, anxiety, or even the simple quiet of an empty room can all pull us away from rest. But poor sleep is not just a nighttime inconvenience. It's a message, a red flag, and sometimes a cry for help. Restless nights can signal deeper imbalances, rising blood pressure, mood disorders, memory changes, even early signs of dementia. Sleep deprivation over time erodes more than energy. It wears down the heart, clouds the mind, weakens the immune system, and frays emotional resilience, yet we often brush it aside. It's just part of getting old, people say. But that isn't the full truth. While changes in sleep patterns are common with age, chronic insomnia, excessive daytime fatigue, or nighttime confusion are not things to simply accept. They are signs that something needs care. Ask yourself, do I dread going to bed? Do I wake up feeling unrested no matter how long I sleep? Has my sleep changed suddenly or gotten progressively worse? Am I reaching for sleeping pills more than I used to? And beyond that, what worries sit with me in the quiet hours? Is the loneliness louder at night? Because often it's not just the body that's restless. It's the soul that hasn't found a place to lay its weight down. What can help? Creating gentle nighttime rituals, turning off screens an hour before bed, keeping a warm, quiet space, drinking calming teas, practicing deep breathing, releasing the day's thoughts onto a journal page, or simply speaking aloud the thing that won't let you rest, naming it, softening it. You deserve sleep, not as a reward, but as a right. Sleep is not weakness. It is medicine. And healing often begins when we finally let go into rest. Even if your nights have been long and broken, morning still comes. And with care, your rest can come too. Sleep is where the body repairs, but it's also where the soul returns to stillness. In persistent aches that no longer fade, the body keeps the score. Bessel van der Kolk. At first it's small, a twinge in the knee, a dull ache in the lower back, a stiffness in the hands each morning that takes longer and longer to ease. You stretch, you move, you carry on, but the discomfort lingers. And then one day you realize it's no longer coming and going, it's simply staying. These aren't the fleeting pains of youth, those that came after a long day of work or a brisk walk. These are the aches that settle in, like uninvited guests who have unpacked their bags and made themselves at home. Persistent pain is one of aging's most stubborn companions. Arthritis, joint degeneration, inflammation, nerve compression, these are just a few of the silent causes that whisper their presence through the body's quiet protests. For some, it's a sharp stab. For others, a slow, grinding weight that makes each movement a negotiation. But perhaps more quietly and more dangerously, chronic pain doesn't just live in the body. It lives in the spirit. It wears away patience. It dims joy. It makes simple acts, standing, dressing, walking, laughing, feel harder than they should. Over time, pain can make the world feel smaller, colder, more distant, and yet many live with it in silence. They minimize it. It's just age, they say, nothing to be done. But that's not always true. While aging can bring natural, where it should not mean enduring relentless discomfort without relief. Your body may be aging, but it still deserves comfort, still deserves care. Ask yourself, is this pain new or worsening? Does it limit my movement or mood? Have I normalized a level of discomfort that would have once concerned me? Have I spoken to anyone about it? Or have I simply learned to live around it? There are paths to healing, even if not curing. Physical therapy, gentle stretching, anti-inflammatory foods, heat and cold therapies, acupuncture, strengthening routines, proper footwear, ergonomic adjustments, and yes, sometimes medication when chosen wisely. But most importantly, there is power in acknowledgement, in refusing to let pain write the story alone. Let your aches be seen, let them be understood, not just as problems to fix, but as signals to respond to, as invitations to tend to the parts of you that have carried too much for too long. Pain is not weakness, it is a message, and you are allowed to answer it with softness, with strength, with hope, because aging should not mean aching. It should mean listening more deeply to what your body asks and what your heart needs, embracing the wisdom of aging. With age comes wisdom, but sometimes age comes alone. Oscar Wilde: aging is a quiet unfolding. It's a journey marked by subtle changes, some expected, some unexpected, that invite us to slow down and listen more deeply to the stories our bodies tell. Each ache, each shift in appetite, every sleepless night and every forgotten thought is a part of the story we carry with us. They are not burdens, but pages that ask us to pay attention and honor the wisdom they contain. These signs we've explored. The forgetfulness, the change in appetite, the restless nights, the aches, the loss of balance, are not markers of something to fear, but invitations to embrace a new kind of attention. A kind of attention that doesn't rush to fix or push away, but rather to understand, care for, and nurture. Our bodies may change, and some days they may betray us. But they are not just fragile things. They are resilient, capable of surprising strength. It's in the way we tend to them with patience and kindness that we discover a new strength, a strength that's not about defying age, but about partnering with it, about being tender with our own fragility. Aging doesn't mean we are less than we were before. It means we are something more. We are the sum of every experience, every lesson learned, every sorrow, every joy. We are the stories we carry, the wisdom we've earned, the connections we've made. The body may wear and tear, but the spirit remains ever enduring, ever capable of love, ever capable of joy. And when our bodies signal their needs, whether it's a call for rest, a desire for connection, a plea for care, it is not a sign of defeat. It is a reminder that we are still here, still growing, still worthy of love, still capable of finding beauty in the simplest moments, of experiencing wonder in the most ordinary of days. Aging is not the loss of youth. It is the discovery of the infinite possibilities that exist in each moment, no matter how old we are. So let us walk this path of aging gently. Let us listen to the quiet wisdom of our bodies, acknowledge their requests with tenderness, and move through this chapter with a heart full of grace. Because each sign, each change, is not a step away from life. It is an invitation to step deeper into it. We are still here, and here there is still so much to discover. Perhaps after listening to these signs, you're quietly wondering, am I aging in the right direction? That question isn't meant to cause worry, but to invite a gentle conversation with your own body. Because often, when we take the time to listen, the body begins to show us the way. And life at any age can still be adjusted, renewed, healed, and allowed to bloom in its own quiet way. Aging is not the end of the road. It's a softer turn in the path, where we learn to live more slowly, more deeply, and more truthfully. Every signal your body sends is not to frighten you, but to gently remind you to return to what truly needs care, both in your body and in your spirit. If this video has helped you recognize something in yourself or in someone you love, please don't hesitate. Click like to help awaken this message in others. Subscribe to Elderly Wisdom Archive to continue exploring wisdom, health, and dignity in the aging journey. And if there's something on your heart, feel free to share it in the comments. Sometimes even a small story can deeply touch another soul. We're here to walk this path with you, gently and never alone. Thank you for spending this time with us. See you in the next video, where we'll keep listening for the quiet wisdom found in the later chapters of life.